What radio? The music you want.
Now I know you'd love to just sit there and keep being not slim, but we gotta work a little today, okay?
With your host, Keys Dan.
Oh, I can actually hear you getting fatter.
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you could have me. Yeah, me, Keys Dan, at your next event. I like to play for the people. Have equipment will travel. Today on the program, Dylan Moran. He's got a podcast called On and Off the Field, and I encourage you to check that out. He's been in my ears for the last week. I usually don't prepare a lot for these things, but I had the opportunity to at least listen to him in my ears for the last week, talking about, well, we'll talk about it on the podcast in the next few minutes. This week's shows, let's see, it is Tuesday as we speak, and on Friday night I'll be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That's my usual Friday night gig. The Rab is the over 21 show that I do. It's they got a full bar, the kitchen, pool tables, the 10 diamond class pool tables. Yeah, and they have a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to make some money, I encourage you to check out the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. And on the party patio, they got foosball and shuffleboard and giant Jenga and checkers. And, there's always something to do at the Rab on Friday night while you're waiting to sing on stage with me. Oh, did I mention it's a video dance party karaoke jam? Yes, you're the stars of the show every Friday night at the Rab with me. It starts at 8 p.m. and it goes all the way till almost 2 in the a.m. So past my bedtime. And then on Saturday night, I'm going to be over at the Heber Springs VFW in Heber Springs, Arkansas. Yes, I like that room. It's the big room. Whenever they have me out there, and I can't say it enough, they treat me really nice over there at the Heber Springs VFW. They have this giant marquee outside of a VFW with the like a big LED marquee, and they put my name up there. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's so nice that they treat me like, okay, it blows up my ego a little bit, but for them to take the time to put my name right out there in front where everybody can see it as they pass by the VFW, and lots of people do. It's nice. It's nice. They put up, DJ Dan Keys. I know it's Keys Dan, but hey, I'll take Dan Keys all day long. That's beautiful. But once you get past that sign, come on in to the Heber Springs VFW and have a good time. Full bar. They have the big room with a gigantic checkered dance floor. They're going to have me there. The plan is for this year to have me there twice a month on 2 Saturdays every month. So I'm kind of stoked about that. I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be back there on Saturday night. Heber Springs VFW. All right, that's enough promotion. My shows this week: Friday night at the Rab, Conway, Arkansas, and Saturday night at the VFW in Heber Springs, Arkansas. Well, I guess really it's Tumbling Shoals, but they call it the Heber Springs VFW. That's it. Let's get into it with Dylan Moran of the On and Off the Field podcast. Calling Dylan Moran now.
Hello.
Hi, Dylan Moran, please.
This is him.
Dylan Moran, On and Off the Field podcast himself. It's Keys Dan with What Makes You Famous. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You nailed it. On and off the field.
And I know that I've been listening to your podcast for the past week, so you've been in my head, but, my listeners may not have had the pleasure. Give the people a little idea of who a Dylan Moran is.
Yeah, so, I'm not that important. The podcast is great. The podcast on and off the field is an NFL podcast that covers all 32 teams, all their on the field action. We cover the games that happen and the games that are to be. And then we do a couple episodes here and there that cover the off the field actions of those NFL players. We cover their charitable actions and the foundations that they run, and just let people know that the good they're doing. Not everything they do is just on the TV every day. So that's what I try to bring is letting people know what they do with their money and their time off the field.
Dylan Moran, I realize, and listening to your podcast, that you do put a lot of emphasis on the off the field portion of the show, the charitable functions that people do, and you're a bit of a charitable guy yourself. Did you ever make the 500 mark?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right.
Yeah, it's a slow
tell the people.
game.
Yeah, tell the people what the 500 mark is and what you're proposing on that mark.
Yeah, we're slowly working our way to 500 plays or listens on any episodes. And once we hit that 500 mark, I'm just going to take $50 out of my wallet and I will donate it to the charity or the foundation of the random person chosen after, something will be put on social media, these contest rules, like how everyone does, and take a random person that follows those rules, and whatever charity or foundation that they choose, I will donate $50 to that group.
That is sweet, Dylan Moran. I appreciate that. And I'll be saying your name in full throughout this because I want my listeners to remember your name, Dylan Moran, on and off the field.
Well, I appreciate it, Keys Dan.
Hey, there you go. He's returned the favor. Now, this is something that's unheard of, really. Most of the time, you'll take a portion of the proceeds if somebody donates some money to your cause. Maybe you'll take a bit of that and give it away. That says a little bit about you, man, or really a lot about you, about your character, about your person. I guess you're an off the field type of person. But the podcast itself is mostly about, well, in your words, the greatest game, football.
Amen.
Okay. What got you interested in football? And first off, where are you located at?
So I live currently in Rochester, New York, kind of just east of Buffalo.
Okay.
If I give it a landmark. I'm originally from Pulaski, New York. Shout out to my small hometown of Pulaski. That's in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York. But so I've been around football my entire life as far as I can remember. I got baby pictures of my parents decking me out in Philadelphia Eagles gear. I remember just sitting down when I was 6-7 years old with my dad and watching games. And if I didn't know what was happening, I just looked at him. What happened? Why did he throw that flag? He'd explain it to me. And then, 3 plays later, why did that happen? It's the same question. The same thing happened. What are you asking me? Shut up and watch the game.
That's a dad right there. Teaching you right, how to be a man, be quiet and listen, and you might learn something. So
definitely learned a lot.
Apparently you did. So growing up in the small town of Pulaski, the way you pronounced it, funny enough, Little Rock, Arkansas, is located in Pulaski County, spelled the same way, pronounced differently. It's regional, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be pronounced Pulaski. I think that's what people outside of it call it, but everyone that lived there called it Pulaski. It's probably wrong, but that's how we rolled there. So
hey, there's an El Dorado, which is El Dorado,
Right.
So yes, I understand regional dialect. And you being from New York, man, I'm thinking You're not from any of the five boroughs because you don't have the typical New York accent. I was expecting a little something different before I started listening to your podcast, and you don't have that accent. What gives?
Sorry about that. Sorry to disappoint. Yeah.
No, Dylan Moran, you say you were an Eagles fan. Funny enough, I'm from Miami, and my brother and I, when we were younger, I was a Doll fan through and through. But my mom's from New York, and to appease the two children that she had, she gave my brother the Miami Dolphins bag to carry his whatever around, and she gave me the New York Jets bag. And she said, "Hey, I'm from New York. I'm giving you something from my hometown, from my birthplace." So I had a New York Jets bag. Is that your team? Is that your team of choice, or has your fandom grown and come out of that?
Yeah, I have moved on. My parents were originally from Philadelphia, or at least in Pennsylvania area, closer to Philly, so they latched onto the Eagles more than the Steelers. But then they ended up moving to New York, but they obviously brought the Eagles with them. That's what they grew me and my brother up on, was the Eagles. And then I'll never forget it because it was an even number, turned 10 years old, and I watched the Seahawks play the Steelers in the Super Bowl. And for some reason, that fateful night, I latched onto the Seahawks, and I never let them go. So for the past 15 years, I've been a Seahawks fan.
How about that? And I thought you were going to say Steelers because, fun fact, there's a Steelers bar in every state of the union. You might check that on me, but this is what I've heard in passing. And I'm not much of a sports guy. I've worked on sports stations, radio stations throughout my career. Most recently, one in Little Rock, Arkansas, that's now defunct. It was 93.3 The Source. And I did that for about a year. I knew nothing about sports, but I was working closely with Arkansas Razorbacks, which you have mentioned on your podcast. You don't keep up with college ball too much. You might correct me if I'm wrong, but I learned a little bit just by osmosis, and I figured by the end of this podcast, I'm going to know everything there is to know about football. Am I right?
Well, you're definitely right there. That I don't follow college ball that much. I kind of just catch a game here, catch a game there, follow what's going on. But yeah, if you listen to the podcast and you learn everything to know about what's at least going on in the NFL, or learn a couple things here and there, that's the goal. That's definitely what I want to happen, and that means I'm informing people well enough, and I'm proud of the content I put out. Then,
yeah, I'm always so impressed by fellas and ladies that can keep stats in their head. And I know that you do write some kind of a bullet point notes, and you're so funny. You apologize every time you flip a piece of paper, because it makes a little ASMR noise.
Right.
And that's real life, man. You could feel it. Okay, he is reading from his notes, or he's looking at his notes and keeping in track with his bullet points. He's done some preparation for this show, unlike me, who does hardly any preparation for a show. I mean, other than, okay, I listened to a few of your podcasts. I've added you on Facebook. I'm kind of stalking your Facebook. But you're a heck of a statistician. Do you keep a lot of these stats in your head? And how long has that been going on?
Yeah, that's, instead of having important facts in my head, like, hey, I have a doctor's appointment today, or hey, I gotta be at a meeting. Nope, it's NFL facts, or at least Joe Burrow's on his way to the NFL, so he threw 60 touchdown passes in the college season, or Lamar Jackson led the way with 36 passing touchdowns in the NFL. So it's useless garbage that takes up too much space. So I decided to make something useful out of that information and made a podcast.
Very cool. All right, skipping around. Back to when you were a young lad watching football with dear old dad. Did you ever play football in school? You say you played?
I never played like pee-wee level or when I was a kid, but once I hit at least middle school, I started getting into football around, I think, 7th, 8th, 9th grade.
Yeah.
And I never played high school ball because I never got enough playing time. You'd be surprised, in my small town of, not a lot of people on the team, didn't get a lot of playing time. So I
How
didn't get to
sad.
play as much as I wanted, but
How sad is that? This town has hardly any people in it, and you couldn't get some field time, some play time.
I had one really good game where I caught 2 touchdown passes, but I guess that wasn't enough to get me on the field more. So
How'd that make you feel?
Put an end to that.
How'd that make you feel? Doing the touchdown.
Oh, getting a touchdown is just the best feeling. Even just getting a catch. I mean, I still remember those feelings back. I go down memory lane and just relive some of those moments in my head, and it was one of the better feelings ever, just elite, like playing football. So these days I'll go out and try and find a flag football league or just something to try and recapture a feeling like that. But football is just the best sport ever. Watching it, playing it, it's a feeling in itself where I just get to enjoy that.
Dylan Moran, I was talking to a lady in Northwest Arkansas, and she runs, or at least helps to run, an adult football league. Did you know that there were such things?
I know of their existence, and I've heard a lot of good things, like people, adults get to go out and play the game they love. I've also heard horror stories about them. Because sometimes, not the best equipment, people get hurt more often. There's not professional medical staff available sometimes. They're not professionals playing, so they don't know the most clean way to tackle somebody. It can get messy quickly, so I've never joined one, but I do know of their existence.
All right. So, where are you located now? You're still in northern New York, upstate.
Yep. I'm in Rochester, New York. It's more like Western New York, just north of the Finger Lakes.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure we can look it up geography-wise. So, have you always been there? Have you ever traveled around? Have you ever lived any place else? Or you're upstate New York all the way?
Yeah, upstate New York for life, 25 years.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you ever get any college?
Yeah, I out of high school, I joined the military for a couple of years, and I came out and then went to college in Syracuse at a community college. And then I made my way out to Rochester, where I lived out the last, maybe 4 or 5 years with my wife out here. So,
oh, fantastic. You have a little family going on. Now, what branch of the military were you in?
did the Army Reserves for 8 years. So I just finished that up this year.
Wow.
Officially out.
Well, thank you so much for that. What job did you do in the Army?
Human resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recruiter, is that what that is?
Just kind of more just you get assigned to a unit and you do their paperwork, making sure all their contact information's up to date. You get to write their awards. You get to file all the stuff away. It was not exciting by any stretch of the imagination.
You need to watch this movie, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Have you ever seen it?
No, definitely. I never
check out
heard
this
of that.
movie. It's the Wayans brothers. I think it's Keenan who's the star of the show. If I'm not mistaken, he plays a guy that was in the Army, and he didn't have a very exciting job. In fact, he was comparing scars with another guy who was in the Army, and he says, "Look at right here, paper cut." I'll say no more. Check out I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. That's a one from me to you. And yes, look, it's not exciting, but it's an important job in the Army. And you made it 8 years, man. I'm sure that was no easy task in itself. And they gave you a little money for college?
Yeah, gave me some money for college. You know, it's just a great experience overall. And the number one thing they give you, especially right out of basic training, is just a different outlook on life and just being just a better person in general, just kind of having a disciplined soul in you and having a respect for other people and learning how to do a job and giving 100% all the time. And they just give you skills and life lessons that you'll never get anywhere else.
I like that, Dylan Moran. You didn't have the opportunity to be in a team sport as a high schooler, but I'm guessing you've learned some team skills as a part of the Army.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that was I have lifelong friends from being on the teams from my unit that I was in for 8 years to some people that I still talk to when I went to basic with 8 years ago. So it's been an amazing journey. That's without a doubt something I do not regret at all at any level.
Well, good. That speaks highly for joining the Army. Yes, combat and war, it's terrible. And nobody really wants to go to war, but there's a whole lot more to being in the Army. I was going to join the Navy, and I got in a motorcycle wreck, and that didn't work out. My brother was in the Navy for 6 years, and he had a very good experience, and I'm very proud of his experience in the Navy. He, funny, 6 years, he never went on a boat. He stayed in the middle of Florida, in Orlando, Florida, at least an hour away from any discernible ocean. So I'm not sure how exactly that worked out, but certainly the armed services are. I'm glad you had a good experience in that, and that speaks highly. But you say you went to college. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, went to college I went to a community college, and it took me about 3.5 years to graduate because I kept changing majors.
Well, that's comedy right there. Yeah, I didn't spend 7 years in a community college for no reason.
Right.
I think nope, that's a whole nother movie. 7 years of college down the drain. That's Bluto from Animal House.
Oh, okay. I know Animal House.
Yeah.
Hey, you must be a cinephile. You know a lot.
I've watched a lot of movies. I spent a lot of time, and yes, there are a lot of useless facts stuck in my head. And
everyone's got them.
Yeah, my honey says that I talk. My life is in movies. I speak in movie quotes quite often, and I think that might be a dude thing anyway. So getting to know you.
I speak in football references. So everyone's got it.
Okay, what does the wife think about that?
She's gotten used to it. That way.
Does she ever send you off to go play with your friends? Does it annoy her at all?
Nah. She's got her hobbies. I'll go do my thing. She's got her thing. It's a give and take, and it's worked well for almost 5 years.
Oh, sweet. Still on the honeymoon phase, really. Yeah. So, all right. The last I heard is on your podcast. I think the last one I heard was, probably last Tuesday's. You did mention, this is the one where you mentioned Podcast Addict. That was the last one that I heard.
Yeah.
Is that the last one that you did?
In retrospect to...
I'm just saying, have you done any since then?
Oh, I just uploaded one about 15 minutes before you called me.
Oh, okay. So I don't have
so
the freshest.
A brand new one out there.
All right, good, man. So people have that to look forward to. Thank you, Dylan Moran, for letting me know. I have to update my Podcast Addict and get the freshest on and off the field podcast.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Super Bowl coming.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. It must be something about the Super Bowl. But I know, and since I don't want to spoil it for anyone, what you're talking about on your latest podcast, I want to talk about what you're going to do after NFL football is over. And let's see, I know that one of your podcasts you talked about. Also, and I know I'm going to throw a few things at you. You talked about the AFC and the NFC. I kind of want you to let me know what is the difference and where. I mean, is it East and West, or is it spread out throughout the United States? Let's go with that one first. What is the AFC and the NFC? Because I'm a football dummy.
No problem. AFC and NFC is the two conferences in the NFL, and American Football Conference and the National Football Conference, and the teams in both conferences are mixed all over the country. How they came up with what teams in what conference, I have no idea. This all happened back in 1970 when the NFL and the AFL merged. There was two different leagues back then.
Oh,
Then they became one league, and I forgot how many teams there used to be. I could do the math, but then I would lose my train of thought. But they came together in 1970, created just the AFL with the AFC and NFC conferences. Now we got 32 teams, 16 teams in each one, and that's your present day NFL.
yeah. My first taste, my first memory of football was a good one, and it was from my hometown Miami Dolphins in 1972 when they had their perfect season. Don Shula was the coach. Bob Greasy was the quarterback. I remember that. I remember it was a big deal. And I remember the song, the Miami Dolphins song. It may predate this perfect season. Miami Dolphins, number one. It may predate this, but I do remember those things going hand in hand and everybody singing that song in 1972. Now, I was, I was 3.5 years old, maybe. I guess, well, that would have been in January, maybe, of 72. So I couldn't have been 3 years old. I was born in 69. What is your first memory of football? Was it watching it with your dad, or was there another memory?
Definitely just watching it with my dad. I never went to any games back then. Didn't see any live that my brain remembers from when I was a kid, but just always watching the Eagles play, and the players that had impacts in my memory still are players like Brian Dawkins from the Eagles when he played, like a bunch of Eagles players, good old Michael Vick, Brian Dawkins, and he's my number one favorite NFL player of all time because he was one of the hardest hitting safeties in history, and he was just so fun to watch, and just got into the Hall of Fame last year, which was really exciting to see. But yeah, just sitting on the couch watching games, and never played, like I said before, never played a lot, but it was always just watching those games. It was just huddling around the TV on a Sunday.
Oh, Dylan Moran.
Never forget it.
It is good to be appreciated for your life's achievements, and I'm sure getting in the Hall of Fame is excellent. I was just, what do you think? How do you think they feel? Have you ever been to a football game, to a professional football game?
Yeah, I have now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the first one I ever went to was the Seahawks when they played the Giants back in, oh boy, 2014 or 15 maybe, and they beat the Seahawks 23-0. So that was my first ever game. That was exciting.
Were you a fan of the Seahawks previous to that?
Yep, I was a Seahawks fan at that point.
How about that? And I noticed that there's a Seahawk on your as your profile pic.
Yeah,
on your Facebook.
Sad Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Tell me about why so sad, Russell Wilson.
Russell's sad because they lost last week.
Oh, very sad.
Very sad.
All right, Dylan Moran. I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but I find
That's
things
fine.
interesting.
I skip around.
No, I find things so interesting. And, yes, I didn't make any copy points or any previous things to ask you, but I'm fascinated, once again, by your knowledge of football, man. It's just, it impresses me. And you say you're 25 years old.
Yep.
Wow. I'm 50. Going to be 51 on the 31st. So anybody listening,
that's a heck of a milestone.
Yeah, and I mean most of the time it's been radio, and through radio is where I get my pop culture references. As every time you go to the movies, it's research for your job. Every time you pick up a newspaper, read a magazine, it's research for your job. So I've had that my whole life, where I've had to keep my finger on some kind of a pulse. The one thing that I never got into was football, was watching football on TV. Now, the times that I did go to the Orange Bowl as a young lad and watch football, in person, in real life, man, the feeling of being at the stadium and just watching and feeling the crowd and feeling the energy, no comparison, really. I mean, do you get the same feeling watching it on TV with your friends, maybe getting some of the energy from them, or going to a sports bar and getting that camaraderie as you do going to a live game?
It's definitely not the same, but just for me, even watching games on TV when that Thursday night game comes around, or just any Sunday games, Monday night, I love watching them all, and I get excited even if it's not my team. I just love watching football in general. But going to a game, just this past when did we go? And maybe it was sometime in November. Me and the wife flew out to Seattle.
What?
This is my first time ever out in Seattle, and we went to the Monday night football game where the Seahawks played the Vikings, and I was just in awe the entire time we were in that stadium and throughout the entire game. Just absolutely, the crowd was amazing. I've never felt anything like that related to football in my entire life. Just being there in my team stadium, and they win. It was absolutely breathtaking.
That is proper fandom right there. And it sounds like you have a good relationship. Your honey went with you. That's fantastic.
She got a week's vacation out. I mean, we spent a week out there. It was just overall. I mean, the whole trip in itself was.
I got a week's vacation. Where am I going? Seattle. Really?
And I tell you what, it didn't rain once when we were out there.
Yeah.
It was a blessing. We expected rain. We brought our raincoats and umbrella. We're ready for anything.
Yeah.
Didn't rain once.
That's what you hear about that place. Rain, grunge, and good coffee.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, what fun did you have in Seattle? And when you went to the game, were you all decked out in your Seattle Seahawks gear?
Head to toe in the Seahawks gear. I even had the Seahawks socks on.
Yeah.
I had my hat. I got the sweatshirt. I got the jersey underneath.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I didn't wear my Seahawks sweatpants. Too cold for just the sweatpants. I had to wear like jeans. But if I could have worn them, I would have.
What are your viewpoints on face paint?
Other people go for it, not me.
All right. So sounds like Dylan Moran's got a good relationship. His wife will pick up and go with him to Seattle to watch his favorite sports. Okay. Now, turnabout is fair play. What do you do for the honey? What is she into that she says, will you go with me to this?
We have pretty similar interests in a lot of things. I mean, if she wants to go to like a musical or a play or a concert, we go to that. And we go out to dinner a couple times here and there. We just like going on walks. We'll go to the gym. We have a lot of pretty common interests that are also pretty low key. We don't do anything that's too crazy. We're very down to earth people. That one of our favorite activities is sit on the couch and turn on the old Netflix or HBO Now or something. So that's easy to get along with.
Well done, man. Well done. Get yourself in the family bubble and go to it. Now, I mean, for the listeners of your podcast, you have mentioned that it's not just going to be, I mean, you might want to tell the news. Is there something going on with the wife?
Oh, that's one of the things I've been doing for my wife in the past 4 months has been cleaning the litter boxes, because she's not allowed to clean the litter boxes because she's 4 months pregnant. We're going to have our first child here in June.
Congratulations on that, my man. I heard that on your podcast, and I was like, yeah, family life, man. That's fantastic. You're going to be a dad, boy or girl. Do you know yet?
We don't know yet. We're going to find out February 3rd. It's going to be the Super Bowl, and then we find out the gender of our child. So it's going to be a great 2 days.
No kidding. All right. Now, okay, do you want to get into the Super Bowl, your ideas, your thoughts, your views, or do you want to get into what you're going to be doing, post NFL? I know you were saying you were going to be following another league.
Hey, whatever you want to do, man. You can flip a coin. I'll go in whatever direction you want.
Well, let's go with the Super Bowl, and then that'll get us up to now. What you're doing now. I mean, we got an idea of where you started and how you got into football, and now is right now. It's Super Bowl time. What are your views? What do you think about the Niners and the Chiefs?
Well, the Niners are going to be wearing white, and I believe the stat is the end of the team wearing white as their record's 15-5 for the past couple Super Bowls when they wear white. So, my pick right now for the Super Bowl is the 49ers. I think they have a more complete team, although the Chiefs also have a very complete team and a very explosive offense, and their defense has stepped up enormously this season compared to seasons past. But I think the 49ers have a three-headed monster at running back. I think their linebackers are just as effective as another three-headed monster. Richard Sherman is a shutdown corner. If the Chiefs manage to shut down the running game, Jimmy Garoppolo can throw it to anyone: George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, Kendrick Bourne. The list goes on and on. That team is stacked at every single position, and I can't pick a weakness except the corner on the other side of Richard Sherman. They might be able to expose a weakness over there, but that's a very small weakness.
All these stats are coming out of your head, Dylan Moran.
I don't got notes in front of me. Yeah, no, that's just.
Oh, continue, because you're blowing my mind. I'm baffled.
Well, I don't know as much about the Chiefs, but they're just fast, and they've gotten where they are for being fast. The running backs are just speedsters. Tyreek Hill is the fastest player this league has ever seen. So he can just blow by any corner and safety he wants. He gets a ball on a jet sweep. He's around the corner and he's gone for 20+ yards. Their defense has stepped up like that defense they've never seen over there in Kansas City. That defense used to give up 50 points a game, and they would lose big games because good teams would dump points on them. Now they have a pass rush with Frank Clark and not D Ford, but Chris Jones. Terrell Suggs just got over there. He got dropped as if they picked him off the waiver wire. They got the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, back at safety now. The defense is better than it's ever been, so I think they're a lot better of a well-rounded team than they've ever been, but I think they're going to come up just a touch short in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Dylan Moran, it's blowing my mind, man. All I know, the only stat that I can come up with is what I read here, is that the Niners may have a slightly better year. They were 13-3 as opposed to Kansas City Chiefs, who were 12-4. All right, here would be maybe a more something I'm more familiar with that pertains to the Super Bowl. It's the halftime show. It's the all-girl halftime and the all-girl entertainment, for that matter. Do you know who's doing the national anthem and the halftime show?
I saw something that who was doing the national anthem. I believe isn't Shakira doing the halftime show, or is she the one doing the national anthem?
You got it. You got it right. You're in there. You're in the ballpark. You're on the field, man.
As long as we're there.
National anthem is Demi Lovato, and then the halftime show is J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, and Shakira.
All right, so that rings a bell now. That's right.
Yeah, it's all girl. I mean, did you mention any of that in your podcast, or was yours? It was all foosball.
It was all foosball. and next week's podcast will be heavy on Super Bowl details about both teams and possibly the halftime show. If there's one thing that I am extremely weak in is pop culture and like stuff like Shakira and J-Lo, I know almost nothing about.
Yeah, I mean, other than the game, which is viewed, by so many people all over the planet, and not beyond the game, the halftime show will be talked about, and the commercials. Isn't it amazing the advertising dollars that are raised in this one event? That's always been amazing to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, just to run a 30-second commercial costs a company millions. Just that's just how
Millions.
many people are watching.
Yeah.
It costs because you get so much on return for getting a commercial in the Super Bowl that you got to drop buckets of money to even get there. And they obviously get the best talents in the world to do Super Bowl halftime shows. I mean, anyone would be lucky to do that show just for the publicity and be able to perform in front of a stage like that or on a stage like that.
Well, it amazes me that's still the case in this day and age where people are not consuming their entertainment on broadcast television, which is where the Super Bowl is going to be laid out. It is the aforementioned. You said Netflix and what was it, HBO.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I've cut the cable cord.
Right.
I'm Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and now Disney Plus. You know, we're watching a lot of that. I mean, where are you? Do you still have? I'm guessing you still have broadcast television in addition to your streaming. Which do you lean to more?
Yeah, we cut the cable too not too long ago, but that resulted in having to go to get the CBS Live and Fox Live. They all got their live stream platforms you got to pay for. So
Yeah, I feel
it's
like I
just
went from
subscriptions everywhere.
I feel like I went from $90 where I was paying for all the broadcast, and then it was now it's starting to inch back up. $10, $10, $10, $10. Eventually, it's going to be back up to that 90, but it'll be well. I guess is the CBS Live? Is it sans commercial, or can you do it where it's commercials included? I don't know. I've never seen the CBS app.
Yeah, I think it's the same as is it Amazon, the one that you still get like a couple of ads that run here and there, like the 30-second ads, like after you watch a little bit of it. It's kind of like the same as that.
Yeah,
And
Hulu. If you don't pay the extra buck or two, you will get a few commercials here and there. And I
right,
think
like stuff like that.
we have paid the extra buck. But yeah, so you've cut the cord, but now you have all these streaming. Well, can you watch the Super Bowl afterwards? I mean, you'll be watching it live, I'm guessing. But as long as you stay off of social media, I mean, will the CBS app have it replayed?
That's a good question. I'm not sure yet. I never rewatched anything, but I know like I live most of my life through Facebook or Instagram or something like that, and they got Facebook TV or maybe like the Instagram TV. They put the highlights of games, which is pretty much the entire game, but just cut down, and they'll put that on Facebook so you can rewatch the whole game within 30, 40 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So that's
When
how I like to rewatch games that I don't see is through that.
yeah, when I was working at the sports station down in Little Rock, Arkansas, it was a lot of times it was the ESPN highlights, and that's how I would get my bites, so that way I can try to keep up with the Razorbacks, the football players that I was talking to, and the guy who's a professional broadcaster here in Little Rock, and I held my own. Mostly, I was running the board, and every once in a while they let me chit chat a little bit. So I became the monkey boy, it was the third banana, I suppose. And I played the music in and put music out and got their sound bites. But I learned a little bit while I was there, and yeah, listening you could learn some things. So listening to Dylan Moran on the On and Off podcast, you could learn some stuff. Even if you're not interested in football per se, you can get the highlights, man. You can get the stats, and you'll be the smartest man at the cooler, standing around. When you get to the locker room, you'll have something to talk about, man. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's all. That's all it takes. You got to just plop on down and listen to a podcast 30 to 60 minutes, and next thing you know, you can chat with everyone in the office, and you'll sound like a person that knows what they're talking about. That's all that matters.
Yeah, Dylan Moran. This is the wave of the now. I mean, you say wave of the. I could say wave of the future, but consuming your information on demand is where it's at. and anything that you are interested in, talk about it. Make it into a podcast. I mean, yeah, you're not going to make millions. There's a few podcasts that make thousands every show, but it's not about the money. It's about, for this podcast, the one that we're on right now, What Makes You Famous, it's me getting to know people and learning some things and having some genuine conversations, and that's what I enjoy. And hopefully people. Well, I mean, so far it's gotten a lot of hits, man. I'm up over 6,000 downloads, which is great.
Wow.
I'm very happy that people are listening and learning some things, not just from me, which I don't know much, but I do know that I can learn from everyone, and I'm learning from you, Dylan Moran. I'm learning, man, and I hope you get to that 500, because that $50 is going to go to a good location. And I appreciate that you've added that feature. I haven't done that. I haven't even thought of that, but that's something I should think about, is giving back. And that's what the off the field is in your podcast. Tell the people some more about what the off the field of the On and Off the Field podcast is, Dylan Moran.
Yeah, I mean, you can find hundreds of NFL podcasts out there, and like a whole bunch of other sports as well. They're on every corner, on every platform. And I feel like that's what made this one different, but not only just make it different, it's really what I wanted to make available. Because at the time, when I made this podcast, what was going on at the time was a lot of people were starting to get big contracts. There was people that coming out saying, like, the players were saying a lot of things that the NFL was having a viewership issue because people weren't liking the players as much with some things that were going on at the time. So I kind of got the idea, well, these players that people don't like, they're not doing the research about what they're doing off the field. All you're seeing is what they might say on the field or in the locker room or when they're heated or something's going on. When off the field, a lot of these players, a bunch of them have foundations that they run where they're giving school supplies to inner city kids that can't do it. They're giving them shoes. There was one, Dustin Colquitt, the punter for the Kansas City Chiefs. He does a foundation or works with a foundation that gives free dental care to people that can't afford dental care. And he has provided over the past decade or so over $20 million worth of dental care to people that can't afford it. And you haven't heard about that on ESPN Sports Center. You don't know about it unless it's told to you or you go and look for it for yourself. So that's kind of been the main purpose of this, is to let people know that exists, that people are doing these kinds of things.
Dylan Moran, I suspect the players and the people that you hear the least about are the ones that are not tooting their own horns, man. They're giving, they've been blessed with this talent, with the ability to make millions, and they've turned around to help people out. And you're shining a light on that, man. And excuse me, whether they appreciate it or not, that is an amazing thing that you're doing. You're letting people know that, yeah, these people that have a lot are giving back, and even those of us that have a little should also think about giving back. And you're an example of that. You're going to take money out of your pocket to give back to the community, and man, it's great that you're shining a light on these people, Dylan Moran, and I appreciate that you're doing that, and I hope that they appreciate that.
It's like what you just said. Like they're also humble people, and they don't go in front of the camera, and like Dustin's not going to come in front of the camera and say, "Hey, I do a dental foundation." They don't say things like that. A lot of this is done behind the scenes, and they might not come out and say it. And my podcast might have 20 to 30 listeners, but as long as I feel like if I could shed a little bit of light on what they're doing, it brings a humanity to the sport that's very physical and, manly, and kind of brings a humane aspect to it that, these are still people, but they're just blessed people that are really doing everything they can to help people that aren't as fortunate as them.
Yeah, they don't forget where they came from, because a lot of these players did come from humble beginnings, and they worked their way out. They clawed their way out onto the field, and yeah, they're able to give back, and yeah, I can appreciate that, man. And I'm once again, I'm glad you shed the light on them. I mean, have you gotten any feedback from any of these players, or have you ever gotten the chance to talk to any of the players, any of your heroes through the years?
I have not. I have tried. I've sent a couple emails to some of the foundations trying to get at least a rep to talk, or maybe just kind of get any kind of feedback from the foundations to listen to it, or if they want to talk about it on the podcast, or just get like a statement from them. I haven't had any luck with that yet. It might be because I'm not very popular and they never heard of it and steer clear from it, maybe.
No.
I'm not sure.
Well,
no luck there yet.
Yeah, Dylan Moran. I mean, the way I found you, you seem interesting. I found you on the Instagram, and you seem like a fellow that I'd like to talk to, and just listening to your podcast, you are very well adversed in the material that you're covering, and I appreciate the effort that you put into it, getting those stats and spitting them back out, man, and putting them in a form that can be spoon feeding them to a bobo like me. And I appreciate that, man, so much.
I try to make it so I know like a lot of, especially, I learn it from my wife. She doesn't understand football to the extent of a fanatic, so I try to make it so it's inclusive of anyone that wants to watch football or just learn something or know what's going on at the time. That's the goal.
Yeah, I was always the sandwich guy. While my buds were watching the foosball on the big TV, I'd make some sandwiches. Yeah, I'd be kind of interested in what's going on. I'll probably watch the Super Bowl. I mean, that's probably the Christmas and Easter of a Catholic. I liken that Super Bowl thing. A part of a part-time footballer or football aficionado.
Right.
You got to watch the big game.
Right.
Get out there.
That's the only one that really matters at the end of the year. That's the important one.
Well, cool. So that's what I have to look forward to tomorrow when I listen to this episode of On and Off the Field featuring Dylan Moran. But after NFL, where are you heading?
I've given it some thought because the end of the season is approaching, and I'm definitely going to continue the podcast throughout the off season. But I've been trying to think of content, and it was handed to me in the form of the XFL for at least, I believe 8 weeks. And once the NFL season's over, the very next weekend is the first game of the XFL. I believe it's the Seattle Dragons against the DC Defenders in DC for the inaugural game. And I didn't watch the old XFL. I think it became a thing in 2001 was the first go around. I'm not sure how long it lasted, but I never got to watch it because I was too young. I'm just happy it's back for me to watch it this time around.
I
think it's just going to be super excited. I think it's going to be an exciting
amazing. Week. Look at this, 2001. You hit nail on head, sir.
I was right.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
XFL is a planned professional American football league owned by Vince McMahon.
I wanted to say Vince Vaughn, but that's why I didn't say it because I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah, Vince McMahon of the wrestling McMahons.
Right.
And so Alpha Entertainment and is headquartered in Stamford, Connecticut. It's the successor to the original XFL, which was controlled by the World Wrestling Federation. Perfect. And the NBC. So, and ran for a single season in 2001. Man, you're good. You are good. This man's got knowledge, people. Take a listen to his podcast.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. You can listen. I'm not feeding you fake information. I know what I'm talking about.
Whereas I feed people fuzzy information all the time. Don't fact check me because I'm probably wrong.
Yeah,
I will
just
lead.
take it for what it is and move on. Right?
I will lead you down the primrose path, baby. All right, Dylan Moran. I think I've taken up enough of your time. Get back to your lovely pregnant wife.
I got to go rub her feet.
Oh, that's a good dude right there. Ladies, find a guy that'll rub your feet. Unless you don't like your feet touched, then in that case, scrap that.
We'll do the shoulder massage. We'll do it all, whatever you need.
Oh, you're the goods, man. You're setting the bar high, Dylan Moran.
Yeah, the full package here.
All right, let the people know how to get a hold of you, Dylan Moran.
All right, yeah. So all you got just go to Facebook or Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. I don't know how to use Twitter. I try it. I hate it. So I do have Facebook and Instagram for just search On and Off the Field. On and Off the Field is the only page out there. It's easy to find. You can send me messages on there if you just want to talk football, but you can also email the show at ootfpodcast@gmail.com. And then you can also go to my Anchor profile. If you just go to Anchor and search On and Off the Field, again, it's the only one there. You can leave voice messages or feedback on there too. It's the internet. There's all ways to get a hold of me. However you want, just head on over, and can't wait to talk to you or hear your feedback or anything like that.
I'll put all those links in the show notes. Now, I was scoping your Facebook page, and I noticed that there is a Twitter, Goats and Gamers. What is that?
Is that on my personal profile picture?
On your personal profile, yeah.
Wow, that's still on there. Man, that's from ages ago. That used to be when I used to play video games and would put like some highlights on there, something like that. It's a YouTube channel too. I must have made a Twitter too. Wow.
You did. You're the Green Man. Goats and Gamers 6. I'm telling everybody, follow it.
The Green Man thing is a whole separate topic. Oh man.
Give me a little taste of that. What's a Green Man? Hey, since I uncovered it, what was it?
I used to. Well, I actually still think I own them. I own green morph suits that I used to wear in college, and I used to wear them to rock concerts, and it was a fun time period in my life when I used to do that. I used to walk around and take pictures as the Green Man with people. It was just a great time doing that. But
funny when that
the suits are retired now.
Yeah, when that morph suit thing came out, that was a big thing. People would get morph suits of any color, and sometimes of different flags, different teams. The morph suits is big, and you went for the plain green, man.
I loved the green.
Classic.
I don't know what drew my eye to it. I just loved it, and then come to find out, if you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that's Charlie Day. He dresses up as the Green Man for a couple episodes too.
Oh, he's emulating you. You should have gotten some of that credit.
He copied me.
He did. He did.
I copied him without knowing it.
Yeah, dude, Always Sunny is very funny. Charlie Day
came up. Show.
My goodness, it came out of his brain. Amazing. The intricate, the complexity of that show. I could be like Charlie Day when he's on the chalkboard trying to figure out how his brain is working.
Yeah.
No, but
it's probably a scary world in there, but I'd still love to pick it.
All right. So you're the Green Man. It's now defunct. It's been the last post was December 15th, 2016. So the Green Man, it was gone wild. The Green Man is now gone, and
he's done.
He has morphed into a philanthropist of sorts, a person that shines light on people that do good. And you're a do-gooder on your own, man, by shining that light and more. I see nothing but great things, man. This could go on and on and on. Now you got those eight weeks of XFL. I remember on the sports station when I was talking to these footballers, when it wasn't football season, it was just like, oh, what do we talk about now? Baseball?
Yeah. The off-season stuff, it'll I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'll figure it out as I go. And I hope the content's just as good. We'll see.
Yeah, I remember it. It was, we only got 3 months till football. Let's talk about that. And you could talk about the
Right.
draft, and you could talk about, who's switching teams and things like that.
Right.
So I know that there's
plenty of stuff going on.
Yeah, there is stuff to talk about. You're going to dig it out. Dylan Moran, On and Off the Field podcast. That's fantastic. All right, as we close this out, give the people the last words. Any last words for the people, Dylan Moran?
Any last words for the people? Well, for the people listening, I just got to say, just be a good person. I mean, it's so simple and generic, and you probably hear it all over the place, and it's what you've been told ever since you were a little kid, probably. But being a good person just to anyone on any level, whether you're in middle school, high school, or you're an adult in your office, and everyone just likes a friendly face and a good person to talk to. And if you got the time to donate to anyone, like a food kitchen, or just to go help make food baskets that they're giving out to communities, go do that. If you got the extra money that you can give to a cancer research society or anything that you're close to, give them an extra $100 if you got it. It's very simple, small acts that can make a huge difference in anyone's lives. You don't know where that $50 could go. That $50 can end up saving someone's life, or that food basket you make can feed someone for a week that wasn't going to eat at all. It's a simple concept, and the world needs good people.
Well, there you have it, party people. Dylan Moran, On and Off the Field. Mostly, he talks about on the field all the time, but mostly focusing on the off the field activities of these, of these stars, of these people that have made it through whatever hardships they've had and got into the NFL and are making bucks. And hopefully I have talked to NFL players, and I know we didn't get into it with in the podcast, but when I was working at the sports station, we've had some NFL players that they come in and they make, thousands. There was a guy that was in the studio talking right there, right in front of me, made $45,000 a week and blew it all. You got a young kid that's just out of college, and you give him all this money. He's blowing it on cars and watches and houses, and he's buying a house for his mom and his grandma and his uncle and his aunts and his cousins. And wow, I didn't know you were my cousin. Oh, you're my cousin now. Okay, and all that money gets blown. It's amazing. I don't know why that came up, but the NFL, these people, they have lots of money, and he's bringing out the people that are making the most of it. They're using it for good, I tell you, for good. And I appreciate that. Dylan Moran. Follow him. I'll put the links in the show notes, and make sure that you know where to go to find out more about Dylan Moran and his fine show, On and Off the Field podcast. Look for that everywhere. All right, that's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. If you want to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
If you like what you hear, follow What Makes You Famous social media. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Follow on Facebook at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Instagram at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Twitter at Makes Famous. And follow on YouTube at Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Famous podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Famous podcast on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and almost anywhere you find podcasts. Tell your story on my podcast, What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time. You can support What Makes You Famous using the PayPal link, paypal.me/KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Famous podcast is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening.
Radio What? The music you want, with some great quotes. Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Henry David Thoreau. The music you want. RadioWhat.com. Tweet, yo. Follow Radio What on Twitter at Radio What Twit. Tweet, yo.